Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Insurance Journal's Academy of Insurance's weekly webinar after show. I'm your host, George, and joining me for the after show today is the director of the Academy of Insurance, Mr. Patrick Raitt, and today's instructor. Today's webinar was part one of a two-part series, How to Hire and Develop New Producers. And our instructor is Mr. Chris Burand. Chris, welcome to the after show. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you.
Excellent. Great to have you on the after show. Thank you for coming to the after show, and thanks for your help today with the class. Jam-packed with insights, knowledge, how to hire and develop new producers. You had a lot of insights, cautionary tales, things like that. You mentioned a lot of things, the do's and don'ts of hiring and developing new producers. What do you think is the most important thing about either hiring or developing a new producer? Like developing, you mentioned, send them to writing classes. There are lots of like intangible things that you may not think of when you're training an insurance professional, but the ability to write well is essential. How to hire someone. You mentioned that people hire people they like instead of really methodically judging someone for their merits, however that would be, other than likability. What do you think is the most important aspect of each, hiring and developing new producers?
Most important, if there's one essential element, is to get your head straight as to what the goal is. Get your head straight. What are you really trying to accomplish here? And then build a methodical plan around that. So many agents over the years, they really were about the ego. They were about hiring people to build their ego. And the stories are, well, I met this person at a flea market and, well, they could sell junk, so I figured they could sell insurance. So we hired them. It didn't work out. I don't know why. They should have been able to sell insurance since they were able to sell junk. Well, was it because you just wanted somebody around so you could go to the bar at the next agents convention and talk about having 3 lousy producers and be miserable like everybody else at the bar? Or were you hiring somebody because you really wanted to have a more successful agency? Getting your head around what your true inner goals are is the one essential element.
Chris, you're talking about how competitive the pay is for salespeople in different industries other than insurance. Somehow that made me think of the Monty Python skit where the gentleman is an accountant and he wants to be a lion tamer. Like he wants to go to that industry and skip over. And the career placement person played by John Cleese says, oh, well, why skip over to lion taming? Why not transition via banking or insurance? Like insurance is another step beyond accountancy towards lion taming. Do you have any kind of stats or info on industries that the insurance industry itself could cull professionals from? Like, do you hear about people saying, "Oh, I used to work at selling cars, but now I sell insurance," or something like that? Do you have any kind of insight into that?
I don't really. Insurance is the accidental industry. We all end up in this industry by accident, right? So it's a hodgepodge. But again, also, I think it comes down to, like I said in the program, do you want a professional agency or a professional producer or an amateur, a peddler producer? On the professional side, what you're looking for is somebody, if you're going to hire someone that has sales experience, is hiring somebody that is from another professional industry. So I ran across a young lady that sold medical devices. She knew everything there was to know about medical device or the medical devices that firm sold. So does she have the ability and the desire to be very professional and knowledgeable about insurance as well? Absolutely. If it's somebody that is out busy selling at a flea market or used cars or something like that, we're probably looking at the peddler model. And we have to make sure.
The door opener?
Yeah, the door opener, maybe a closer, but not somebody that actually knows what they're doing. There's a big difference there.
Got it. That's the second time you mentioned flea markets today. So in the future, I will not bring up flea markets to you at all. I sense I'm getting a vibe about the flea market thing with you. So I will refrain from that. Patrick, what do you think of today's class in particular and the topic in general? I know you're cultivating new generations of great insurance professionals is a subject that's near and dear to your heart. What do you think of this in general?
I was glad that my camera and my microphone were off through the whole thing, because I was over here cheering Chris on, because honestly, it seems like you hit the nail on the head. If somebody is breathing and knows how to answer a phone, or even can remotely learn how to answer a phone, they end up in an insurance sales gig in some way. And the worst, and I'm not saying anything bad about life insurance companies or whatnot, but the worst job postings out there are for life insurance salespeople, because it's just, can you breathe? Do you have people that you can call and sell them a life insurance policy? And then they exhaust their network, and then they lose interest in that job, go do something else. One of the things that, when I look at hiring, one of the aspects of personality that I look at is trainability. And in many ways, I look at that as being one of the most important aspects. Am I wrong, Chris?
No, they have to be open to being trained. They have to be, especially if it's a professional level position instead of just a peddler position. Because as you guys both know, this is a complex world that we live in the insurance world when you're doing it well. And for people to walk in and go, well, I saw this the other day. Someone said to me, they said, well, we've been here 6 months, so we're pretty sure we know what we're doing. Wow. Okay.
Okay.
I don't think you're going to meet Patrick's standard for trainability. One of the greatest stories I have is I had a client long ago. He finally sold his agency when he was 81 or 82. And he said, you know what the sad part of this is? I thought I'm just now feeling like I'm understanding insurance.
For sure. I mean, it is complicated. We deal in complex legal contracts that are designed to provide the boundaries by which everybody fulfills a promise. The insured in being honest and providing the payment of the premium, and the company in dealing with the claims later on. It's harder than, certainly harder than all of the advertisement makes it look. I mean, yeah, 15 minutes might save you 15%, but what does that mean in the end? That's probably not something we need to dive down into too deeply. But the sense I got from this whole first hour was that you feel very strongly that we as an industry need to improve our hiring practices, especially in the sales force, in the people that are selling the product.
Yeah, if you want to have success, whether it's financial success or success in delivering quality to your clients, either way, we have to do a better job financially. At a 25% success ratio, we're not cutting it. We're not even coming close to having a good financial result. And at that same level, and with the typical training that people go through today, they're not learning the coverages well enough, or even what risk to apply the coverages to well enough to provide the quality service to the clients. So both cases, I agree with you.
You had mentioned in the beginning, early days of having a new producer on staff, you mentioned having the producer sign themselves up for a licensing class, rather than what I think is more common, rather than the agency or having the principal have somebody there hold their hand and sign them up for licensing. Why do you say they need to sign themselves up?
I want to see initiative. I want to see a producer that doesn't wait for somebody to do something for him or her. They need to be out there making things happen. Whatever I can find early on in the development process is what I want to see. If they're not willing to take the initiative to find a licensing class, the odds of them taking the initiative to make enough sales, probably zero.
Wise words, Chris. Thank you so much again. This is the point in the after show where I may or may not be asking Patrick. So Patrick, next week we've got this webinar coming up. What can we expect to see in this webinar, here in this webinar? But happily, for our next webinar, I actually have the instructor here on the after show, because today was part 1 of this great class and Thursday is part 2 coming up. Chris, what can we expect to, can you give us a little bit of a tidbit of what we might expect on Thursday, please?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to talk about the training resources and how to train, the attitude, the perspective of training to a professional level instead of a peddler level. And then I'm also going to talk about the factors that you want to consider in a producer contract. Producer contracts need to be, it's not that they are, because a lot of them aren't, but they need to be much more complex and detailed than they've ever been in the past, due to regulatory factors and because some entities out there with really big pockets, lots of dollars and lots of really good attorneys are also looking for producers. And if they find a producer in an agency that has a weak contract, that's their opportunity. So I'm going to focus on those 2 points in the second half.
All right. Well, thank you for the sneak preview. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Chris, thanks again for today. We'll look forward to seeing you on Thursday. On behalf of our instructor for today, Mr. Chris Burand, and the director of the Academy of Insurance, Mr. Patrick Great, this is your host, George, saying thanks for coming to the after show. Take care of yourselves, and we will see you next time. Have a great day, everyone.